within minutes, there was a queue. Oh man, I'm using European terms now.
You're also using a lot of words that start with Q. What a bizarre thing.
All right, let me quickly continue.
Wow.
I couldn't think of any
My
others.
mind is blown. Well, that was good.
Yeah, well, I'm feeling a little quirky today.
If you could do it one more time, I'll buy you a drink.
I got to think of a good quip, and then maybe I can slip another one in there, you know? Hey everyone, welcome to A Grade, the podcast where a college professor and a middle school teacher taste, review, and grade America's best coffee roasters, craft breweries, and more. We have new episodes every Monday morning at 7 a.m., and if you want some pretty awesome A Grade bonus content, just hop on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/A Grade podcast for behind-the-scenes pictures, videos, and a full report card of every place we've ever visited. Again, just hop on over to patreon.com/A Grade podcast for all of those bonus goodies if you sign up and become an A-grader yourself. There should be a link in the episode description wherever you're listening to this as well, so you can just click on that too. My name, of course, is Joe, and I am joined, as always, of course, by...
Hi, everybody. I'm Jackie.
And we are back for part 3, part tres?
Yes.
I don't know how they say it in Italian, of our Italiano
Our
experience.
four-port.
Four-port?
Wow. I can't speak today either.
You can't even speak English. I don't know how we're going to do Italian.
This is going to be a rough podcast. I can already feel
Why? It should be fine.
That's
I mean,
true.
you did botch it like 3 words in. But,
Yes. And this is also our maybe 4th attempt at recording. So,
well, don't tell them that. No,
What? Sometimes
no, we're
you need a
perfect
little-
the first time every time,
a
obviously.
little behind the scenes, going in here.
Anyways, this is our 3rd part, I
Yes.
believe, of our 4-part Italy recap. Of course, if you're joining us for the first time, you might want to go back and listen to a couple of those previous episodes because we did do about a month-long trip to Italy, and we were in essentially 4 different areas: Florence, Rome, Sorrento, which we're going to talk about today, and we ended on the Amalfi Coast, which we'll wrap up our Italian experience next week with. So basically going through, applying our rubric that we normally apply to for coffee roasters and craft breweries here in America, but while sharing our Italian experience in those places through that rubric, which has been pretty fun so far. I think we've had some pretty interesting, hopefully helpful travel insights if you are ever planning to go to Italy, because there's definitely some things that you want to make sure to do, as we've said the last couple of episodes, as well as things that you probably definitely want to avoid. And we might have a couple of those coming up the next week or two.
I already was really excited for the Sorrento episode because I have really hot takes on what to avoid when you go to Sorrento.
Ooh, hot takes.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, let's just dive in.
Let's dive in.
Yeah, let's get going. So we'll do a quick recap of what exactly we did in Sorrento, some specific, I guess, experiences and places we visited, and then we'll go through and give our grades. So why don't you start with that recap?
Absolutely. So Sorrento is a really great city, just kind of overarching first, because it is a gateway to both Naples, Pompeii, Capri, and the entire Amalfi Coast. There's a lot of ferries, there's a train, there's a lot of transportation in Sorrento, so it's a really, really good hub.
Yeah, you can also take, I think, flights to Naples, maybe?
Yes.
There's an airport in
Yes.
Naples, and then you can hop on a ferry from Naples to Sorrento, which is basically on the other side of the Bay of Naples.
Right.
So Sorrento's on this almost peninsula at the south side of the Bay of Naples. You could also take the train, which we did from essentially Naples to Sorrento as well.
Yeah, so that is kind of the first thing that I want to talk about, because on the first day, we were traveling from Rome to Sorrento, which does take about 6 hours. It's a really long day of travel.
Well, there's a lot of components
because
involved. Yeah.
There are a lot of components. In Rome, we had to take the regional train in Rome.
Oh, it's not that simple. First, you need to get up and realize that there's a 28-hour taxi cab strike
Yes.
that morning, because that's what they do in Italy
Yes.
for various reasons. I think there's this struggle or battle with Uber right now moving in, and the cab drivers, I think that day they announced another strike because it had been released, these documents that Uber had been doing shady shit the last 10 years or something. I don't know, just shady stuff with trying to bribe politicians, or I have no idea really what it was. But anyways, even the release of that information, because they had already been striking, I think earlier that week when we first got to Rome, and then they were around again later while we were still in the city. And then that morning when we went to leave, they were like, nope, we're on strike again. we saw the documents. We're taking a 20-something hour siesta, and we had to figure out the bus to the regional train.
Yes.
And that added travel time too.
Which is ironic because the fact that the taxis were in strike pretty much the entire time we were in Rome made me wish that Uber was in Rome because that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So I feel like they kind of defeated their own purpose of the strike. It's like, wait, the Uber is so much easier. It's just people independently try to make money and grind. They're not going to go on strike.
Well, I'm sure
I get it.
I'm sure from an Italian perspective, it's different, but from a tourist perspective, it's interesting to think about too, because we were just there sort of thinking, oh man, I wish they did actually have Uber now. So I don't know the full
so convenient.
I don't know the full depth and breadth of the issue and how exactly it exists now, but that it did add to our travel time. That's the long story short. Yeah.
So going from there, we did take the regional train from where we were in Rome to Rome Termini, and then from there you take the awesome bullet train from Rome to Naples. Now, here's where it gets really complicated to get to the Amalfi Coast.
Which is hilarious because what you just said makes perfect sense to me. But if somebody told me that before our trip, I would have said, I have no idea what the hell you just said.
Yes.
So it is complicated.
It is really complicated. The only way to get to Sorrento, well, I guess we could have took a ferry, but we didn't know about the ferry option at this time.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling people now that if you're listening to the pod, I would recommend the ferry as a route to get from Naples to the Amalfi Coast, whether you're going to Sorrento or the south side or wherever. But either way, the way that most people get there is on a commuter train that goes from Naples to Sorrento.
Which we were kind of warned about via Rick Steves maybe.
Every guidebook is like, take the commuter train, but be prepared to watch out for pickpockets, and it takes forever.
Yeah, but my translation of that was that it basically just felt like a New York City train, a New York City above ground subway train or something along those lines.
But it was for me a little bit of torture. Because
oh no, it was awful. New York City Transit, it's terrible.
Yeah,
so it's not a nice comparison.
It stops about 50 times, no exaggeration.
No, I think it was more like 50,000 times. Yeah, I was just watching all the stops on the sign above and just thinking,
packed.
We're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, it is packed like sardines, and there's no air conditioning. So in summer Italy, it is a rough go. I would recommend taking the ferry or timing your trip so that you take the tourist train. There's another train that goes and it comes only like 3 times a day, and you have to buy your ticket beforehand. So again, another thing that we didn't really know about it, but there are other options to avoid that commuter train unless you want to kind of get the authentic experience. It is a very cheap option.
Well, it's one of those things where you might want the experience, but only once, and
that's
sort of
exactly
never
what
again.
We did. Yeah,
and you're right. When we were at the Naples train station, I think we asked somebody at the ticket booth about that better train, and he was just kind of like,
that one's the Campania Express.
Yeah, he was just kind of like, just take this one. You're going to wind up waiting way longer and getting in way later. So we went for it, and we got there.
So either way, we get to beautiful Sorrento. Sorrento is awesome because it is right on the water. I think that's still the Bay of Naples.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's the south side.
Pretty much everywhere that you are, especially as you get towards the water in Sorrento, you can see Mount Vesuvius in the background across the Bay of Naples.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
It really is an unbelievable view. So anywhere you are by the water in Vesuvius, which is where we stayed in Sorrento, which is where we stayed the entire time, you have views of Vesuvius. And that was one of the first things we noticed when we got into Sorrento.
Also epic sunsets in Sorrento.
Epic.
Because this is also where, as we journeyed south, I noticed we started getting into cliffier and cliffier seaside terrain. And you really start to experience it in Sorrento, where you're up, elevated from the water in these towns like Sorrento. And you kind of have to go down to get to the beaches or the ferry or whatever. And that does lead to stunning views as well as stunning sunset views. So much so that people will clap for them.
Yes, they will.
Which we kind of took to, after you see the sunset the first couple of days. Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. Just kind of watching and seeing like, whoa, what kind of reaction is this sunset going to get?
Time?
I was more enthralled by the applause to the sunset than the sunsets themselves. But the sunsets were A grade, I thought. They were fantastic sunsets.
And I will give a shout out to the hotel that we stayed at for the first half of our Sorrento experience, which was Hotel Regina. It's in a wonderful spot. You have really great views of the Bay of Naples, Vesuvius. They have free breakfast that's at a balcony where you can you see the Bay of Naples, and they have a great rooftop bar that we'll talk about shortly. that you could go to every night, and really highly, highly recommend this hotel. It's not super expensive and it's in a great location.
Yeah. Hotel Regina was also maybe, I don't know, 5-minute walk down to the water.
Right. So there's different parts of Sorrento. You have the main town area, which is very touristy, and you have, a lot of people there. But then you can go all the way down and there's beaches. And the beaches are in the Marina Grande area, and Hotel Regina is right in the middle of the shops and restaurants area and
sort
the
of
Marina
between,
Grande,
yeah.
right between.
But Hotel Regina as well was one of the places where I really got a sense of how different the culture is from America to Italy. And that was really stark to me when we first got to the hotel, and we're sitting out by they had a little pool area. It wasn't a big pool, not even big enough to do laps or anything, but just kind of for lounging or whatever. And you could get food or drink or whatever you wanted. But there were just sort of trees and lemon trees and lemons hanging down from these sort of trestles or whatever, just in this hotel. Again, it's not a 5-star hotel. It's still a really nice hotel, but I can't remember anything like that in America. Just lemons hanging above your head. And they had a garden in the back too by the pool that was a full herb and vegetable garden that I'm pretty sure I would see them go and pick, I assume, to make food or at least to make drinks with the herbs or whatnot. So that was something that I can't even imagine ever seeing here. I don't think I have. I'm sure maybe some places do if they're really fancy, but it didn't seem as if something that was a gimmick. It just seemed as like something that you just do there because it makes sense. And I thought that was such a cool cultural contrast, and it speaks to as well a lot of my other observations in terms of, we said this last week, food being super fresh and just tasting better and just being better and seeming healthier for you, where you don't feel as if you have to snack all the time. You just eat a meal and you're full. Whereas here I eat like 6 meals of dog shit all day and I still feel hungry. The food here is dog shit in America. Like, I'm sorry. There is good food. You can get good food. But overall, I just feel like crap all the time, because unless I'm eating just raw greens and cutting chicken heads off myself and cooking them, it's all processed nonsense. It's so hard. It's so hard to avoid just not as good food here in America, I feel like. Whereas there, it's hard to find not good food.
Yeah, and everybody, especially on the Amalfi Coast, has like their own garden where
everywhere.
they get their food.
Yeah,
whether
just
it's
fig trees and tomatoes and
zucchini, eggplant, whatever's in season, they're growing.
Yeah, so something I noticed.
Absolutely. So that was our first day that we got in. We hung out close to the hotel and we went to an awesome restaurant that I do want to give a shout out to, which was called Tavern Allegra.
Tavern Allegra. Which one was that?
This was the place that it was a local restaurant that's down an alley, and it's been open since the 15th century. It's like a little hidden gem.
Yes.
There was a guy playing guitar.
Yes,
and the owner with the cane.
I think he was the owner. He had owner vibes.
Yes.
And he had a hat and a cane and I think a mustache. He was basically everything that I would imagine an old Italian man running a restaurant to look and to act like. It was exactly what I dreamed and wanted. It was great.
Absolutely. And they sang songs for us. We had a really good dinner. That was our first dinner.
Yeah, he was just really going around talking to people. He goes over to the guitar guy and starts singing Time to Say Goodbye, the Andrea Bocelli classic.
Yeah.
Just having a good time. And it's funny because my dad said when we told him that we were going to Sorrento, he says that it's a little sing-songy down there. You know, people just move slower. It's a little less of a fast pace compared to even Rome or certainly up north. And that was, I think, the first real experience where I thought, oh, this is what he's talking about. This is that exact vibe I get. And it's awesome. It's really sort of cool to have that gear shift, I felt.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of got us right into the Sorrento experience.
Yeah, that was a beautiful place. The food was great. I really liked our experience there. It was cool.
Me as well. That's why I wanted to give him a little shout out.
Yeah, definitely.
So the next day we were in Sorrento, we did one of the best things we did on our whole trip, which was a limoncello, or I guess a lemon and olive farm tour.
That was wild. Yeah.
It was honestly an A+ experience. On Instagram and Patreon, I'll link the actual Viator tour that we did.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To kind of give a shout out to the farm.
That's one of the experiences that I almost hate highlighting, and you know, I don't want it to blow up.
Yeah.
Because it was so amazing that if people catch on to how awesome it is, they're gonna. I mean, if they're listening, double your price. Like I
Yeah.
would have paid double for that
It's worth
experience.
it.
Like, what did we pay per person? What was it? 80 euro?
It might have been €80, and I'll tell you everything that we
say
did.
everything that we got,
Yeah.
because in America you would get a cookie and they would tell you to get the hell out.
So yeah.
like it was such a wildly good deal for everything we got that we didn't expect. I thought we were just going to go to a farm and some guy was going to say, yeah, this is how we make limoncello. Here's a shot. That's it.
The views alone from the farm are worth $80.
Well, first they
to
pick
sit
you
and
up on
eat
the
there.
bus.
They
Sorry,
pick you up.
you tell. I'm so excited about it, but
Yeah.
you tell it.
So they pick us up. It was a kind of crazy bus ride.
But that's everywhere.
That's
in Italy.
everywhere when you drive up.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah.
Don't get on a bus in Italy and not expect it to be a crazy ride.
And don't expect to not get car sick because you will.
Well, more to come next week.
Yeah. So on this tour, Eugenio, shout out, took us through the farm. We saw tomatoes, olives, lemons, zucchini, chili, which wards off evil, basil, fennel. We saw pigs, goats, chickens, cows.
Yeah, olive trees.
Yeah, he took us through the lemon groves and he explained the process for everything. Like they use nets to catch the olives to make olive oil, and they catch 30 pounds of olives to make 1 jar of olive oil.
I think he also mentioned, and this is something that we started looking up since we've been back, is where to find really good olive oil.
Yes.
Because the olive oil that we tried there and that we brought home has this naturally just super peppery kick to it, to the point where when I brought olive oil back for my mom, she said, oh, should I bring over herbs and whatever from my garden to flavor? And I was like, no. You just want to have it fresh. And she tried it, and everybody who tried it,
our whole families tried it, and they were blown away, and we are too.
But I think he said that they harvest, I believe, 4 times a year.
Yes.
And he mentioned something along the lines of how places with not as good olive oil, they'll maybe do 1 or 2 harvests. So you get a lot of overripe or underripe olives mixed in, whereas you want to make sure to be very deliberate with when you pick them at certain times of the year. So whatever exactly and however they do it, which they take you through the whole process. But I don't really know how they make it so amazing. They crush it. I mean,
Yeah,
I think the best olive oil I've ever had.
Definitely. And they've been doing this for 5 generations. This is a family farm. It's only the family that works there. They pick things by hand.
Yeah,
it's a really
the
intricate.
brothers, the daughter,
Yeah.
the dad, the mom. Yeah.
Yeah. So after you do a tour of the farm and see all this, learn all this, then they sit you down so you can sample and taste things on the farm. We
Yeah.
thought it was going to be a small sampling, but listen to everything we got.
Yeah.
First, I want to write down everything we did. First, we did bread with olive oils. So we got to try all their different olive oils.
Yeah, they had an orange infused one, a lemon infused one, and the regular
regular.
one that just has that nice pepper kick to it.
Then they brought out bruschetta.
Yes.
Then they
Bruschetta.
brought out meats and cheeses.
Yep.
Then they brought out fried zucchini flour.
Yep.
Then they brought out rigatoni with meat sauce.
That Mama had been making in the
Yes.
kitchen, as they told us. Oh, Mama makes in the kitchen.
And we were
I'm
like,
wait, Mama's
stop.
cooking in the kitchen?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they pretty much force you to eat tiramisu for dessert with limoncello.
Yep.
And
Yep.
they taught us the secret limoncello recipe that we will not divulge here on the podcast.
But I will be trying to make soon.
We will be making.
Yeah.
Yes.
I kind of got addicted to limoncello, and I've been getting my friends addicted to limoncello.
Yeah.
That's all I need in life is limoncello. So
Yes.
it's amazing.
So after this awesome tour, we kind of had a low-key night. That was kind of, is there any final things you want to say about the tour?
No, it was just amazing.
Amazing.
It was one of those experiences where you can go to a place like Sorrento and do all sorts of different things, but it's really nice to get outside of the city and see what's going on. Because I think the bus ride was almost half an hour.
Yeah.
And it's not as if it was very far from the city because the roads are super windy and hilly, but it was quite a journey. And it was great that they picked us up too, basically from the hotel. That was included as well, the pickup and drop off.
Yeah.
But I think Eugenio mentioned, he said, oh yeah, you have to go to the country and really see how people live and what they do to experience Italy. And I thought Eugenio's 100% right.
He's
and
right.
Give me some more of that olive oil and limoncello. He also brought up, we were in the cellar, the wine cellar, and he says, how many bottles? 4, 5? And then he just comes up with an armload of wine that they made, and he's pouring us wine the whole time too.
Yeah.
So they're just super friendly, super generous people. Highly recommend, whether it's that or another tour like that. it's definitely a quintessential, however you say, quintessential.
I think so.
Part of the experience, I think, of going somewhere like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we ended that night the same way we ended a lot of nights, which was at our hotel bar watching the sunset. Again, a lot of people kind of skip over Sorrento on their way to the Amalfi Coast or some of the more Instagrammable towns or whatever. But really, the sunsets are unbeatable in Sorrento.
Well, what's ironic is that we'll talk about this probably next week on the Amalfi Coast, which is basically the southern side of that peninsula, places like Positano, you don't really get a sunset. The sun's down by
5 o'clock.
5:30, which is fine because it's plenty beautiful on its own, and there's lots of other stuff to Instagram about. But yeah, the sunsets in Sorrento were by far the best sunsets of the trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the next day we did what a lot of people do when they come to this part of Italy is we went to Pompeii and Mount Vesuvius.
Oh,
yeah.
So, sorry, that's a good and bad groan.
Yeah. It was a full day tour. We were gone.
And thank God we did the tour.
Yeah. We were gone pretty much from 8:30 to 6.
No, we got there at like 7:45.
7:45 to like 6. But either way, we had a great tour guide. And it's nice to have the tour guide because they take you through everything. Transportation's included. The tour of Pompeii is included. And this is kind of necessary because they also take you to Vesuvius and you kind of get to see both in one day.
Yeah. Definitely. And that was, I think we only did maybe 2 or 3 tours the entire, I think it was the Limoncello tour. It was that. And
And the next day we went to Capri.
Right. And the next day.
So we'll talk about that in a second.
But the Pompeii Vesuvius, I thought, was a really good pairing because otherwise you don't really know exactly where you're going or how long to stay or what to see.
And you got to take the commuter train if you do.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The commuter train literally stops at Pompeii at the ruins and you could walk in. So that's a good way to do it if you just want to see the ruins maybe for a little bit. But when it's hot like that and you're just trying to get through and see everything, and we love the history of it. So it was cool to hit the key spots and know where to hit because Pompeii is huge.
I did not realize how big Pompeii is. Yeah, it's gigantic. How many acres did they say?
I don't know, but it was big, and you could easily get lost. Not lost, but get lost in trying to see everything. And
you could miss the brothel, which was like the coolest part.
The brothel was the coolest part, yeah.
Pompeii.
Yeah, you can still see the frescoes within the brothel. Yeah. So Pompeii was definitely awesome. I really enjoyed Pompeii. It was just 1,000 degrees Celsius.
I mean, really?
I don't know how that converts to Fahrenheit, but I know it's hot.
I feel like the only word I want to say about Pompeii and Vesuvius Day was hot. Yeah. It was so hot.
Yeah, and then we went
almost unbearable.
And then we went from Pompeii. They stopped for lunch at Pompeii because there's, of course, vendors there. And then we went.
Fine.
And then we went to Vesuvius and we drove up. It was about another 45 minutes an hour to get up the mountain. So when you climb Vesuvius, you don't climb from the base. They drop you off about, I think, 800 meters from the summit. So it's still a bit of a hike up to the summit, which is basically the cone, the hole of the volcano. But that was one of the hottest things I've ever done because it was just hiking up, just no shade, sweating the whole time. And interestingly enough, I told my brother that because he's a brewer, I was like, this is probably your dream hike, just maybe not that time of year in the dead of summer, because every seemingly like couple hundred meters, there was kind of almost a rest station with just a souvenir stand, and they would sell beer. You could buy water, obviously, but you could buy beers, Peronis at each stage almost. And I thought that's hilarious.
There's also, you need it because
you do. I bought, I think, 2 waters on my way up.
And where the bars are for the Peronis is literally the only place you get shade at Vesuvius. Yeah. There is no shade.
It's a tough one to do in the dead of summer. I mean, that's one where people
I would not recommend it.
No, people
in the dead of summer.
People who want to go a different time of the year, it's probably a much more manageable experience. Yeah, but it's still amazing. I'm still glad I went to the top. Yeah,
me too.
Because it's interesting too. Because some people they expect to get to the top of a volcano. We've hiked mountains before. I've never hiked a volcano like that to the hole. I mean, we were at Mount Rainier last summer. And Mount Rainier is, I think I told you, I did the math, and it's like, I mean, Mount Vesuvius is impressive looking because it's just so big and it's cool at night. You see all the lights of the city.
Yeah, you can see all of it.
That stop as it goes up the mountain.
Yeah.
There's this black thing against the sky, the night sky. But I think Mount Rainier is 3 times higher. So it's as if you stacked maybe 2 or 3 more Mount Rainiers on Vesuvius.
Oh my God.
So when we hiked Mount Rainier, we didn't really get close to the top.
No, you can't.
But Vesuvius, you actually get up and you go around half of the
Crater.
the crater, but it's filled in over the years. So it's actually full of just sediment that's fallen down and sort of plugged it up. When it erupts again, that's going to pop. That's going to go flying out. But it's still really cool because you can see...
And it will erupt again.
It will erupt again.
It is active.
You see all the colors of different like sediments from the chemicals from the volcanic activity. So I definitely highly, highly recommend it. And there was one point I mentioned to you where as you get towards the top, fewer and fewer people seem to make it that far. And there was one point for some reason where I kind of stopped and because it was curving around the cone of the volcano. And I'm basically at the top and there was nobody... because it curved, I couldn't see anybody to the left or right of me, and it was silent. And I was just standing there looking out from the hole to basically the whole countryside below towards the water and the Bay of Naples and Naples itself you could see in the distance and thinking, this is crazy. If I were just standing here 2,000 years ago, it would be the same, this quiet, just sort of impressive, stunning vista view. And it's just so weird to think that, yeah, 2,000 years ago, this blew up and all of that land down there was destroyed. It's just so weird to think like that.
What a great moment.
Yeah.
Everywhere in Italy, you got these connections to the past that feel really strong. You can kind of feel the links and the pathways of time really, really, really closely in Italy. And I really like that.
Yeah, it was cool.
But my favorite part about doing Pompeii and Vesuvius was that night when we got back, you took me, well, we went to my favorite gelato place that we found in all of Italy.
Your favorite?
My favorite.
Oh,
it's called Antica Gelato Sorrentina. And it was amazing. Up in Sorrento, there's like a little gelato stand kind of. You really can't even go in. It's just a stand on the street.
Yeah.
And they had the best gelato. And I highly recommend that if you're doing a really hot day, end it with gelato. We
were so hot and so tired. Was that the one where that British woman was online before us?
Yes.
And she goes, that's not pistachio flavored. That's coffee flavored.
Yes.
And the poor teenage, I don't know, what do you call them? Gelatoistas or baristas behind the counter.
She was so nervous.
She was scared. She was like, yeah, no, it's pistachio.
No, but she wasn't like you're saying it like she was like, no, I really think it's pistachio. I'll give you another. It's really pistachio. Well,
and then she
was being really sweet about it.
She gave this woman the coffee flavored one.
Yeah.
And the woman was like, oh, well, that's coffee too. And then she just kind of semi-stormed off. And the person behind the counter was like, yeah, I don't know what that was. And we kind of laughed. And then she gave us each samples of the pistachio coffee. And she's like, yeah, am I crazy or?
No, she was like, can you just let me know? Like, is this okay? Like, she was just like asking for help kind of.
And we tried them and I was like, yeah, no, these are different. These are totally different. Also, we'll take one of each.
Yeah. And I actually did get half pistachio and half mint chocolate chip, I think, and it was amazing.
It was a ruse to get us to buy more gelato.
It was amazing. It worked, and I don't care.
That woman was a plant, a gelato plant.
It was also like $4, so it was fine.
Oh God, that's also Sorrento is also where we found that giant. Imagine, Americans, imagine the biggest water bottle you've ever seen.
Yes,
literally, probably half the size of you, Jackie. 29 cents. In the grocery store.
I was literally laughing.
Yeah, I said, is this a joke?
You didn't believe me. I was like, I swear it's 29 cents. You're like, no, you read it wrong. It's probably $2.29.
We're getting fleeced in America.
This ain't right.
Things are so cheap there. Espresso shots. There was that coffee place that we found also a little bit down.
Cafe Nero.
Cafe Nero.
Which had really great coffee that Eugenio recommended to us.
Eugenio, the dude from the Limoncello farm, had mentioned that was his favorite in town in Sorrento. And I think that was also the cheapest because that was our drink when we were in Italy. Espresso. I would get espresso and you would get cappuccino. I think it was $2. Or it was less than $2.50.
And it was definitely a locals place. So that was really cool.
Yeah. Anyways, I get derailed.
Okay. Going forward, another shout out to an awesome restaurant we had that night was Enjoy Your Life Bistro. It was really good. I had eggplant. We sat outside, no wait. It was awesome. Just a shout out to a good restaurant.
Don't remember it, but awesome.
Yes. Then we ended the night again at the hotel bar, drinking martinis, watching the sunset.
Yeah, that was the move.
What a life.
That was a clutch move.
What a life.
That rooftop hotel bar was kind of
What a life.
it was
Hotel Regina, thank you.
It was kind of
what a life.
It was kind of one of those things where they clearly realized, oh, we have a rooftop. Let's put a hotel bar, some awesome chairs, because we have this epic sunset view, and it works so well.
We watch the sunset every night.
It's not a complicated setup, but it makes so much sense. Yeah,
it was so insane, and the drinks were great. The bartenders were great. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So the next morning, which was really great, we had kind of a day to relax. And I think this was actually the day that we switched from Hotel Regina to an Airbnb down in Marina Grande.
Oh, God, that's right.
And the reason we switched, one of the reasons we switched was because we wanted to be closer to the beach, because there are beaches in Sorrento. And from here on out, we kind of started to have beach days. Yeah,
this was the transition to beach life, basically, which we're all about back here in New York, where we live near the beach. And that was where the transition began.
Yeah, that day we kind of just hung out by the beach. We went to like the spot on the beach that's a little more crowded, but also a little cheaper. And we swam there for a couple of hours before we headed to dinner. Yeah. When we got dinner, another shout out to a good restaurant. It's called Semolina Pasta Bar. It was really delicious. This is where we got the pasta medley.
Oh, God.
Which we have to talk about.
That was the most American thing I think I ate in Italy.
We didn't know what it was. We thought they make all their fresh homemade pasta there, and they have it hanging from the ceilings.
The whole ceiling inside is hanging with fresh pasta. It's so bizarre.
So we really wanted to go there and check it out. And then we ordered an appetizer that was like $10 that was called a pasta medley. So we assumed it was going to be like 4 of their homemade pastas that we'd get to sample. Instead, it was
basically every pasta noodle you can imagine, just deep fried.
Deep fried.
Which is so
American. But there were
American.
also vegetables in there. There was broccoli and cauliflower and zucchini.
I didn't know what was going on.
It was about the size of like my head, probably double the size of my head.
An American had to have been involved in making this decision.
Deep fried. Everything they had left over was just like deep fried and given to us.
It was good, but I was like, I shouldn't have ordered a meal.
I couldn't even eat my meal, and my meal was really good.
The meal was really good. I like that place.
So a nice shout out to that place. Yeah. The next day, again, we were going to take a day trip to Naples, but we were so hot.
Yeah.
We decided to skip it, which was an awesome idea for us, and we had a great beach day.
Yeah, and there is a Naples experience, but we'll get to it next week.
Yeah, I really didn't even write that much for that day, except after our beach day, we spent the whole day at the beach. They do cool things in Italy that I should just mention quickly, is that you basically pay for 2 chairs and an umbrella, and that gives you bar service. It gives you access to like a private swimming area, and you have like a spot and a home, and you pay for the day. It's a little bit expensive. I think, we probably paid like $50 for both chairs.
Yeah.
But you have bar service.
If you're planning to do that for the whole day, it's worth it.
It's so worth it.
And if you're planning just for a couple hours, you just go to the public beach and lay in the sand or set up an umbrella or a towel or whatever.
Yeah, it depends on your preference. It's really cheap to buy towels and different things. So we did that. But that night, we actually wanted a break from pasta. And we found an all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant.
That was funny.
Which was really funny.
Yeah. And I think that was it was
called Akora.
I think that was one of the few places where I really delved into fish, because I said, hey, it's all you can eat. There's a lot of sushi fish on this menu. I'm going to try it all. And you're convinced that they were joking, but I'm convinced that behind every joke is a grain of truth. And the grain of truth was the many times that the manager came over, sort of looking at us and saying, have you guys had enough? Are you guys good? Is there anything else? Oh, yeah, we'll take another order of sushi.
I'm like, more sushi, please. All you can eat? What?
Well, he came over the first time, the manager, and he said, oh, is everything all right? And we said, yeah, it's great. And then he said, well, just make sure not to order too much too fast, because there's not enough room on the table. And I realized, oh, yeah, we might have ordered 10 dishes to start. And then I just kept doing it, because you know what? Shame on you if you invite... Because when we walked in, they sold us hard on the all-you-can-eat sushi. They were showing us how to do it and what a great deal it is. You can't do that to Americans and not expect us to not be animals.
Right.
Which we were. And we're not big people, but we're still Americans. We still love all-you-can-eat, and we ate all we could. I think we wound up getting 20 dishes, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
You know? And
but
by the end, he sort of joked. He said the chefs are in the kitchen fighting. Don't come back.
I think they were joking.
Ah,
You don't, but I think they were joking. I was looking around and people were ordering just as much as us.
it was good.
It was fine.
Yeah.
I like American sushi way better.
Yeah, it was
But
good.
It was fine.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, it was fine. We wanted a break from pasta.
Yeah, I liked it.
That was another great day, relaxing day, which was nice, beach and sushi. The next day, we went to what a lot of people probably, go to. We went to Capri for the day.
Oh God, that was Capri the next day?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Capri was cool.
So when we went to Capri, we got a private boat, which I think is kind of the way to do it. It's a little bit expensive, but you have your own boat and they kind of take care of everything. The other benefit of the private boat is that the boat stops in a lot of stops and lets you jump in the water and cool off because it's really hot.
Yeah, that was nice that they kept doing that.
So
I like that.
If you look up top things to do on the Amalfi Coast and in Sorrento, you are going to find the tourist trap of the Blue Grotto.
The Blue Grotto.
Which was the first stop on our Capri boat tour.
Yeah. And basically, it is the quintessential. I don't know why I keep using that word this episode, quintessential. I think I like it now.
I like it too. It makes sense.
It sounds fancy.
You're so smart.
The quintessential tourist trap. I don't know what accent that is.
I don't know. It's a bougie American accent.
Yes. See,
it's bougie. Yeah.
It's bougie. Yeah. And I'm glad that we got there when we did because we basically pulled in on the boat and then it seemed as if the guy doing the boat knew exactly when to get there because we basically went directly there from Sorrento. And when we pulled in within minutes, there was a queue. Oh man, I'm using European terms now.
You're also using a lot of words that start with Q, which is interesting.
That's weird. I might be slipping.
That's really weird.
I
don't even know that many words that start with Q.
Now you know two.
You've used two in this last sentence. What a bizarre thing.
All right, let me quickly continue.
Wow.
I couldn't think of any
My
others.
mind is blown. Well, that was good.
Yeah, well, I'm feeling a little quirky today.
If you could do it one more time, I'll buy you a drink.
I got to think of a good quip, and then maybe I can slip another one in there,
That was really impressive on the spot.
I'll take it.
One drink coming up.
we got there, and this line it was more of a just kind of shit show conglomeration of boats started showing up, waiting for these other boats to show up, so that because you have to get in this little rowboat, and then only holds I think 2 or 3 people each to go through this hole into this under subterranean cavern or whatever. And it was just such a funny setup because there was that one boat that basically was a giant cash register. It was basically...
Yeah, and you pay $15 each.
Per person, yeah.
Per person, plus you got to give a good tip.
Our guy was demented.
Our guy was so bad, our guide, and you have to tip them like €20.
I tipped him like 10.
Ugh. Even
which
that,
was
it was
not
like
worth it.
$50 for us to go with the Blue Grotto.
And
I think you could tell how I felt about the Blue Grotto.
Well,
I'm outraged.
you go in for about, I don't know, a minute?
5 minutes? Not
No,
even.
it wasn't 5
2
minutes.
minutes?
It was maybe 2 minutes. And I will say it is visually stunning because... oh, if only you could see the face Jackie's making. It's one of sort of apathy, I would say. Maybe a little disgust. But because of how clear... The water's a certain type of clear blue. And the way that I guess it reflects through... The sun reflects through the water and into the cave. It creates this nice, just beautiful kind of deep bluish glow. And there's apparently other grottos around the island, and we sort of peeked in at some of them as we finished our tour later in the day. But that's the big one. That's the famous one, sort of, I guess. But I that was one where I didn't think it was worth it. I only thought it was worth it because it was such a funny experience because our guy just kept saying the same 4 things. You give me good tip.
You having fun, you enjoy, give me good tip.
Yeah.
You like, and I'm like, yes, but tell me some history. Other people got serenaded to.
Yeah, there were
other
dudes
people
singing in there. It was bizarre.
There were too many people in there.
Well, by the time we were, I don't know, maybe one of the first 5 boats in.
Yeah, we were out of there by 9:15 a.m.
Yeah, and then when we got back in our boats together, or in our boat together with the other people on the tour, because there were maybe 10 other people or 8 other people on our boat, whatever, and we left, the line was huge. So the guy said, piloting our boat, that if you try to get there at 10, 11 o'clock, you're going to wait the rest of the day,
Yeah.
which I would have been mad then. I wasn't so much mad because I said, all right, we got ripped off maybe, but we only waited
20 minutes.
20 minutes until the boats got there to take us in. But if we were waiting there for 2-3 hours, it would have been such a waste because it's such a beautiful island otherwise. So if you want to really see it, just look it up on YouTube, honestly.
Yeah.
I would say take our word for it. Find pictures or go really early if you're hooked on having to see it.
So, yeah, and I got more hot take about Capri in general. Let me just get through some of the things you do in Capri. So when you get to Capri, the boat drops you off. You have 4 hours to explore the island. My take of Capri, you can kind of look up. We did all the things that you kind of do when you go to Capri. If you Google search top things to do in Capri, we did them. Our boat tour showed us all of them.
Yeah.
My take on Capri.
That's a long pause.
Skip
You-
it. Skip the Blue Grotto.
I 100% disagree.
Skip Capri.
I 100%
skip
disagree.
It. Skip it.
No, don't
It
listen
is
to her.
crowded. It is expensive. It is hot. There is
that's because it was the middle of the summer.
The beaches are so crowded.
That's
you
true.
can't even breathe. You're on top of people. My hot take would be instead of going to Capri for the day, which is overcrowded, overhyped, everyone's just trying to take Instagram photos. It felt so expensive and fake. My take, skip Capri. I know people might think I'm crazy. Find a quiet town on the Amalfi Coast that has a beach and do a different day trip. Go to a different island.
Well, there's also other islands that we didn't
Capri,
explore.
like the port of Capri that we experienced later in the trip was so mobbed. You have like everyone just trying to take Instagram pictures. It felt like, hot take, this is my hot take, one of the fakest places I've ever been. Like it oozed in authenticity to me in the way that like
That was a good word. Inauthenticity.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that is a word, but I like it.
In the way that Rome oozed realness, Capri just was I would say skip Capri, do something else. That's a hot take. People love Capri.
Wow, so you're saying to quit Capri.
See.
Wow.
Skip it.
Okay.
I did not like that day.
I would say...
And I had like heat stroke after that day. The only cool part about it, in my opinion, was getting to jump off the boat into the water and swim in the water.
Cool.
But you could probably do that in a Amalfi Coast boat tour or I didn't need time on Capri, the island. It was the most expensive place we went. I don't know. It just didn't do it for me.
I think it was just too hot. I think if we went
Just not interested.
I think if we went a little earlier in the summer and when it was a little less crowded, maybe May or June, it would still be warm enough to swim and it would be way less crowded. It would probably be a much different experience. And this is also why we've said with our grades that we'll give for each place we've been to, it is a grade for our experience. And that includes what time of year we go in, which is obviously going to be very different. If we go in winter, I don't even know how much I would like Capri at all because it's probably too cold to swim
I think
at
it's
all.
like Disney World or something. It's like oversaturated, over touristy, overdone. I say skip it.
Well,
Find an
ironically,
off the beaten path thing.
Ironically,
after doing Pompeii, Capri was like my least favorite day of the trip.
Well, ironically, Capri was the I think personal island of the Roman vacation island of the Roman emperors back in the day. Including the Blue Grotto, I think, was a kind of spiritual place or something. So ironically, it probably used to be a secluded place because you couldn't just go there. It was the place where the Roman emperors would go. And ironically, now it's sort of the opposite. But the gardens of, what were they? The gardens of Augustus?
Yes.
Those were beautiful. It's objectively a beautiful place.
The views are beautiful from around Capri, but I felt like the views were just as nice in Priano or Positano.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably other islands that are just as epic as Capri, but we didn't know enough in terms of how to figure out how to get there and what to do. Maybe something for another trip, but okay.
Just some advice.
Yeah.
So wrapping it up, our last day, we had a nice relaxing day. We cooked some homemade food that day. We didn't really do so much besides just like swim a little bit and hang out. We had that day, interestingly, my least favorite meal, probably of the entire trip, which was Ristorante Sorrento. Sorry.
Ristorante di Sorrento.
That was where they had the ant in your water.
Yeah, there's just an ant in my
really
water.
subpar food. It was the only really bad meal I had in Sorrento.
It happens.
Yes.
Just
And
what are you going to do?
Yeah, but we got to like walk around that day. We got to shop a little bit. The shops in Sorrento are were kind of the best. They have some really, really authentic souvenirs and gifts that you can bring back that were handmade.
And 1,000,000% everything lemon themed.
Everything is lemon
which I
themed.
loved. I love that lemon shirts, lemon hats, lemon souvenirs. That's their sort of, I guess, symbol almost.
Right.
It's the lemon. Really cool. And they have good lemon stuff. Limoncello. It's the best in the world.
Sorrento, another side note, is the beginning of towns that are built vertically.
Yeah, at least if you're going down
uphill
south.
walking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was our training for next week's episode, which is going to be lots of more uphill, upstairs and downstairs walking. But yeah, it was a good warm up for that reason. But was that it? Was that our experience?
Yeah, let's get right into our grades.
Yeah, so atmosphere and ambiance overall for Sorrento. You want me to start?
Yes.
I love the town. I particularly love those narrow cobblestone streets that basically make up kind of the heart of the town. It is touristy, but I feel as if it's still the original part of the city. It doesn't feel inauthentic, to use a Jackie term. And there's that main street with lots of cool stuff. It's a good balance between sort of tourist lip service with some of these kind of places, maybe like that last restaurant we went to that was just kind of meh, and authentic places. As we mentioned with the old man who was singing, really cool. And there were bars and stuff that we didn't get to quite explore, but I thought it was again a good balance between day life and nightlife. I really loved it, and in a lot of ways, I mean, I really appreciated that it was cleaner than some of the other places we went to at Rome. They do a really good job with that. I love that you can walk down to the beach and we could spend time at the beach because I'm a huge beach guy. So
we were able to swim a lot.
Yeah, all of that was awesome to me. What do you think? Anything else with atmosphere and ambiance?
The only thing about Sorrento that I feel like I didn't like was getting there is a little confusing. Like transportation. And I'll get more into this next week, but you do have to kind of plan ahead about travel. It's not the easiest place to get to, even though it's really crowded.
Okay, so for atmosphere and ambiance grade?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for my experience in Sorrento. My experience. So it's not, again, necessarily just the city objectively, but how I enjoyed as you see how I'm stalling, the atmosphere and ambiance. Well, in the beginning, if you really step back, I'm really good at this, by the way, filibustering.
Yeah. Is this the, you're starting like a history corner here?
Oh, I'm not starting History Corner. I'm not playing the music this episode. I don't want to have to edit it in.
There was no History Corner, but we could have done the myths and legends about the Blue Grotto.
Don't make me find myths and legends music.
Come on.
Well, I should have played it then. This is too much editing.
Yes.
I can't do this. I'm going to go with what comes to mind, and I'm going to go A. I thought it was awesome. I really liked the balance of everything. I can't think of anything that I would have wanted different or more, especially for how hot it was, because that was something that we said, or I said at least last week when we talked about Rome, how it was, and Florence even, how it was just so hot. I thought that this city worked really well given how hot it was. There was a lot of shade when you walked. It wasn't, that wasn't necessarily an option in some other circumstances, places that we were in. And you had access to the beach, which was nice, which was also not something.
And it's a great hub to get to everywhere. We could have honestly stayed in Sorrento, I think, for 2 weeks and saw everything.
Yeah, so I'm going to go A for atmosphere and ambiance. It was outstanding. It was awesome.
I totally... I was thinking A- a little bit, but hearing you say that kind of convinced me that I feel A is a better grade because neither one of us give out A's a lot. This is very rare. But Sorrento has a mix, like you said, of everything.
Yeah,
and
it was cool.
It's such a great base. Like I would recommend staying in Sorrento over Naples as a base.
Oh, yeah, 100%,
you still get to see all the same stuff, but you also have easier access to the Amalfi Coast. It's not that easy to get there, but once you get there, you're like safe. Yeah. It's like this awesome, safe city. The sunsets are unbeatable. The food was really good as we're recapping. I gave shout outs to like 5 restaurants. It's inexpensive. Hotels are great. You can swim. It's got a little bit of everything. I think A is the right. This is a great city.
All right, I'll put in the fireworks.
Woohoo!
God. All right, service. Why don't you give us a service grade?
So service experience that stick out was our hotel people were awesome, whether they were the bartenders, the people serving us coffee in the morning with our free breakfast, or the people that checked us in. They were all great. Our Airbnb host was phenomenal. She gave us so many helpful tips. I feel like most of the waiters and waitresses were really good here. We had some good conversations with people, including getting sung to, serenaded at a restaurant.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And talking to the girl serving the gelato. I feel like it was pretty good service experience, actually. Like maybe, I can't think of any more outliers. So I think for service, for me, a B+.
Interesting. Yeah. One particularly funny story I remember that we forgot to mention was at the rooftop bar.
Oh, and Eugenio. Sorry.
Well, Eugenio counts as service. Yeah.
So maybe even higher, but
Well,
B+ I locked in.
And this really kind of sums up the service in Italy to me in some ways, because it's very confusing who to tip when in Italy and how much, because it's not really a thing, but they're not going to turn down tips if you give it to them. So we kind of started tipping more as we went through, whereas in America, I just have a better sense of when and where and how much to do that. But the bartender essentially at the rooftop bar, he was there basically every night we were there. So we, of course, tipped him. And the last night we were leaving to go to the Airbnb down by the water, and we asked him, "Oh, are you going to be here tomorrow? Because we might come back." And he says, "Maybe." Maybe.
Maybe.
That was Luigi. Luigi. He's like, maybe. We'll see.
But like we got like names of people in this town that we never got anywhere
But it was just
else,
so it was so just kind of
so
stereotypical
Italian.
to the experience. Maybe. Well, like, what does that mean, Luigi?
Like, is he gonna quit?
Yeah. Are you just gonna stay home? Are you gonna quit? Do you have another job? Like, what is the deal? Who knows?
He's like, It was so awesome. I want to live my life that way.
Yeah. But again, so service overall, I thought was pretty outstanding. I'm gonna go A-.
Great.
I thought it was really great overall. What really sort of tips me in the positive direction was the limoncello tour, honestly.
Yeah. Great point.
With Eugenio and family. That's just so unbeatable.
Yeah.
And so
point.
unique. So I think that's a fair grade. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Food.
So food, yeah, we basically talked about it all. There were some other things that in retrospect I wish we had tried. There was an Irish pub that didn't serve food, but it was cool that they did have bars there as well. Again, we didn't really find coffee roasters or craft breweries there, which is what we normally review. It's a different setup. Go back and listen to our other episodes because we talk about that a lot. But there was also an English pub, I believe, basically across the street, and they did serve English food. So that might have been interesting to try. So there's definitely a diversity of foods there, which we didn't necessarily find in other parts of Italy. Sushi.
It was the only place we got sushi.
Yeah. So there was a lot going on there. Overall, the food was great. I think Rome was definitely a better food city for me overall.
Me too.
But overall, it was fantastic food. So I'm going to go A- for the food.
That was my thought too. I went A-. I feel like in Rome, I did not taste one thing that I didn't like. I liked every bite
Rome
of
was
everything
just so
I had.
unbelievable.
So coming off Rome, I still feel like this was incredible.
Yeah.
And we had really good restaurants.
But there were also some meals where
it was fine.
It was just fine. It was whatever.
But I still think A-.
But there were those outstanding experiences too.
And
yeah.
I mean, again, I would put Rome, Sorrento, and Florence higher on my list food-wise than any cities I really think that we've been to in America.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
our grades on this trip are like ridiculously haven't
Yeah,
Those of you that haven't gone back and listened to the podcast, we're having really good experiences in these places we went in Italy. And, you don't always get that on the podcast. So it's not like we're sugarcoat everything. This is just really good experiences.
Yeah. All right. And that leaves us with drink. Right?
Yes.
Drink. Yes.
I know my grade.
Well, what is there to say, really? I mean,
Can I give my grade?
Yeah.
I think drinks were A. I had my favorite drinks in Sorrento.
Like what?
Martinis.
Oh God! This is
so
where
many good.
This is where
martinis.
you realize that you're a martini drinker.
Yes.
I don't know where that.
How
came
do I
from.
not give an A to that?
That's
I
fair
found my
enough.
drink.
Yeah.
Olives, Italian olives in a martini, so good. I drank pretty much only martinis and red wine in Sorrento, and I loved every martini and every red wine that I had. And we had limoncello made by Eugenio's family.
Yeah.
And I just think this was my favorite place to drink because the views are awesome. You got sunset drinks. I just loved it. A for me for drinks.
Well, I'm trying to think as well about the coffee experience because there was good coffee, but other than that one place that we went to that Eugenio recommended, was there really any coffee that we had that stood out? I don't think so. I don't know. I'm trying to remember if there was any other place, but that's really the only one that sort of stood out to me.
We also had a lot of coffee at the hotel because it was free.
That's true.
So we didn't have as many coffee experiences.
That is something I would do, yeah.
Right, because we had free breakfast included in the hotel. So that coffee there was probably like a B cappuccino that I had each morning. But yeah.
I'm going to go A- for drink.
Deal.
There's something just...
the coffee we had at the beach was good.
It was?
Yeah, I remember it being really good.
It was all right. I mean, the coffee overall is just like anywhere you go, you're going to get good coffee.
Yeah,
right?
I was thinking mostly alcohol drinks somehow.
I mean, that's fine too. It's a conglomeration of all of those factors. But yeah, overall, I think you basically summed it up. It was an outstanding
And water's
experience.
29 cents.
Water is 29 cents. That counts as drink.
That goes into my
does count as
calculation.
drink. Okay, fair enough. So what are our final tallies? These are big time scores right here.
I'm like shocked at this because breaking it down, atmosphere and ambiance, we both said A. Service, Joe said A-, I said B+. Food, we both said A-. Drinks, A- and A. I'm actually a little shocked at this because I did not realize that Sorrento would break down this well. But thinking back on it, it's an awesome city.
Yeah. No, it's funny because before we started talking about these cities, I had Sorrento ranked maybe third.
Me too.
On my list. And now I'm thinking, oh man, Sorrento was amazing.
And I'm thinking like if I would recommend where someone should go if they go to Italy, like I feel like I might recommend Sorrento, spend a week in Sorrento.
Yeah. Okay. Final grades.
Man.
Do you know what your final grade is overall?
Oh.
What do you got?
I hear a party going on outside the window, and it was kind of, I hope that it got picked up because it was a bunch of people cheering, and I like to think that we have an audience cheering for Sorrento and for us. I might do something.
I can add in cheers, by the way. I'm just going to edit this episode for hours. I gotta
might
accept
do something crazy.
You might do something crazy?
I might do something crazy.
Okay.
I'm feeling it.
Okay. Take a deep breath before you do crazy things. You're actually taking a deep breath. That's big. That's big time. 3, 2, 1. I actually have no idea what my grade is.
You're just gonna go. You're just gonna wing it. You're gonna.
I think I'm just gonna wing it. Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
I know. Yeah.
3, 2, 1. A.
Yeah. I thought I was crazy.
No.
Oh my god, fireworks.
I was sort of torn between A- and
fireworks,
A.
Me too.
But my question is, when I'm torn between two letter grades, particularly A or A-, is am I an asshole if I give the A-? And I think the answer is yes, kind of, because overall the city isn't really there for me. It's just a city that I went to as a stupid American tourist, and anything that I could complain about, like an ant in my water or something, that's such an arbitrary...
We're also eating outside.
Yeah, exactly. It's
with views of the sunset.
It's such
like,
an arbitrary little thing, and compared to my experiences, especially in other cities, I think most other cities don't really compare. There's cool parts of other cities, but this whole city is awesome.
Well, and I'm like, I gave Rome an A-. I loved Rome. I connected with Rome. I might want to live in Rome, but Rome doesn't have a beach, bro.
Yeah, it's also
like
dirty.
I got to swim in the Bay of Naples and take a boat.
Awesome.
You have a hub to everywhere.
Yeah, it does meet all our criteria for a great city.
Like, and I feel like we could have spent 2 weeks in Sorrento and still seen more than we would have seen when we went to Positano.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So that's A from A Grade Podcast.
Can you believe it?
For Sorrento.
The first A we've given to a city.
Yeah.
And one of the very few A's we've given on the podcast overall.
You got to earn it.
Yes.
Sorrento does.
I know we're going a little bit deep into the episodes right now. Thank you for those of you that are still with us. One suggestion, must see for Sorrento.
Definitely Capri. 100%.
Ugh.
No, I'm kidding.
That is.
I just
skip Capri. I'm telling you, skip it.
I'm just
unless
saying
you
that...
want to go to the bougie, touristy, Instagrammable place. Just look at it on Reels. Every reel you see is Capri. Just skip going there. You can see it all on Reels.
It's fair enough.
You enjoy? Tip.
I'm definitely not tipping Capri. I'm definitely not tipping Capri. No, I would say do what Eugenio said. Do one of those day sort of country outside of the town, but connected to the town tours,
I love that.
Such as the Limoncello tour. Doesn't have to be that one necessarily, but I would recommend that one. But something else, maybe whether it's a winery or an olive grove or whatever, something along those lines, I would recommend must do.
I love that recommendation. Great recommendation. I think we should also tag Eugenio in this episode. We'll tag the farm as well.
Yeah.
And for me, my must do in Sorrento is going to be something really interesting. I would recommend that when you go to Sorrento, go get gelato at
Ooh, good one.
Antica Gelato Sorrentina. It is right up in town. I think there's actually 2 locations, and it was phenomenal. It was my favorite gelato of the trip. It was so clean and fresh, and that would be my recommendation, along with Skip the Blue Grotto in Capri. Just watch it on YouTube or on
you really have a quarrel with Capri.
Professor Quarrel.
No, I'm using another Q word.
I know.
Oh, okay.
So am I.
Oh,
and
look
making
at
a
you.
Harry Potter reference for all my Harry Potter nerds out there.
Because that has everything to do with Italy.
Well.
Anyways, well, thank you guys for joining us. Yeah, I mean, as you've seen, we had quite an awesome time in Italy.
Wow, I love Sorrento.
Although we do have one more episode to come.
Yes, we do.
Next week, we will be headed farther south to the
on the bus.
Amalfi Coast.
Take your Dramamine and come with us next week.
Yep, and that's going to be one where I think we have the most do's and definitely don'ts.
Yes.
So
definitely
give a listen to that one because there's going to be a lot of yelling. I feel.
Let's see how many.
Which there was a lot of yelling on the transit on the Amalfi Coast, maybe.
Yeah, and let's see how many keywords you could come up with next week.
That's a weird challenge, but I accept.
This is a Q grade podcast.
Oh God.
Oh God,
I think you're
I'm
done.
losing it. It's time to wrap this one up.
Yeah. So just a couple other things very quickly. Thank you guys again. Thank you to our patrons over on patreon.com/agradepodcast for supporting us, being fellow A graders. If you again sign up, you get bonus content. There should be a link in the episode description, whether you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Tinder, Grindr, whatever, all of them. You can listen to us wherever, but you can get the link to the Patreon in the episode description. And we also include multiple entries to any of our contest giveaways, which we're having right now up until next week's episode. And basically, it's very simple. If you want to enter, you don't need to be a patron over on Patreon. You can just email us or DM us on Instagram to enter. And all you have to do is tell us where you think we are going to review after our final Italy recap episode next week back here in America. What place do you think we are going to go to for our first episode back recorded in America? So hint, hint, think about where we've been these last few weeks
and where we will go
and where we could maybe go as an interesting contrast or comparison to our Italian experience. That's all I'm going to say for now.
It was actually funny because we did go explain the contest to Tommy, who is always on the podcast and our arbiter.
Well,
no.
He's not always on the podcast, but he'll come on as the arbiter.
Yeah.
Like with the A Grady Awards at the end of the year.
And he immediately guessed correctly.
He did guess correctly. So he's eliminated from the competition.
So if you have a guess, put it in. I don't think it's that hard if you
so just email us at agradepodcast@gmail.com. You can just say contest subject and just write your guess. Or DM us on Instagram. You just look up A Grade Podcast, send us a DM with your guess, and whoever guesses first will win a free mug.
Yes.
An official A Grade Podcast mug, which I'll link in the description as well if you want to buy a mug.
Yeah, if you want to buy one anyway. Yeah. All the proceeds from our merch and from Patreon go right back into the small businesses that we are reviewing when we get back to reviewing craft beer breweries and coffee roasters.
Big time.
Big time. You heard it here, people. I think that's it.
I think that's it. I'm gonna go make some pasta. All this Italy talks made me hungry for pasta.
Same.
So yeah, thank you.
Io. Me too.
Huh?
That's Italian for me too, isn't it?
How do you know that?
Because I picked up some Italian while we were in Italy.
You didn't pick up nothing. You looked that up when I wasn't looking.
No, you're always so shocked when I know Italian.
Anyways, and so join us next week. Subscribe, follow wherever you're listening to this. Sign up, all that crap I said.
Buonanotte.
Yeah, what she said. So until next time, stay safe out there, be well, drink well, and hope to see you next week.
Ciao.
Ciao.